Good evening, fellow fishermen. So, doing a fairly short video here. The reason for it is because I occasionally advertise for friends of mine that do things in the industry of angling. And I've already done one for my friend Michael Harriman. Actually, I've showcased him in a few videos. But again, if there's anything you need that is jig head oriented all the way from micro up to striper, you can definitely go to Michael Harriman. This is the information here. And he's also on Facebook as well. Michael Harriman with 2 R's. And I think I have probably 220 or so jig heads from Michael, because I really like the work that him and his wife do. His wife is more in line with the painting and things like that, where he is the one that casts such things. But he's also getting into more of the fly tying type jigs, so he's really good with respect to that. Jig bodies I was getting from Chow Lee. I like the ones that I have. I probably will not get more. They're not quite in the vein of what I'm looking for. It's no knocking to his bodies. They are classic crappie catching designs. But I have found now that Bubba Maroney with Slab Reaper crappie jig bodies, and is also making jig heads, is more my flavor. So I have ordered a large pack from him. I believe it's like 240 bodies, and I've asked for some jig heads as well. I think I'm getting like 30 jig heads in assorted colors. I already have assorted colors and jig heads from Michael with Juggernaut as well. And I've also ordered more of the micro fly and jig oriented stuff from Casey Conklin with Bubba's Flies and Jigs, who's the one I'm going to talk about right now. So if you have straight line minnow heads, ball heads, anything from the most micro 184 ounce heads, little tiny ones, all the way up to striper, in standard hooks, sickle hooks, any of those things, Michael Harriman can handle that with Juggernaut custom jig heads. Phenomenal guy, very good customer service. Somebody that I'm really actually proud to call my friend, by the way. So, the first order that I got from Casey contained, on the fly side of things, quite a few ants. You got these little teaser tails, more the ice fishing style, some fuzzies, and the streamer is like kind of a bug eye streamer. It's really cool. I like it a lot. It's on a little bit bigger hook. A very well done cricker. A couple more of the kind of like mosquito oriented. These are more of like the water skipper bug type. And then this one's got a little bit of pink hair with the bug eyes. It's more of a real delicate presentation for like really clear water. But like this one, I asked him for things that I could micro drop shot. So 1/16, 1/8 ounce drop shot weight, but with these on it. I want to try something like this one, where it's got that little bit of the body to it with the bug eyes, and then this like chenille material in a drop shot format for crappie. I think that it will work very well. I just made another order with him for more like the straight line jig type stuff, but still definitely hand tied. And I'm looking quite forward to that, actually. I also have from him. Oh, by the way, this this red one. I tried this red one in a drift in ASU Research Park, and I got followed by probably the biggest freaking peach belly bluegill I've ever seen in those waters. It was well over a pound and a half. It was effing massive. So don't ever think that little is necessarily not able to get big fish. Wow, it was huge. It didn't take it, unfortunately, but it was a huge effing bluegill. I also have these light to dark purple ball head hand tied. Nice little stabby hooks on them. I got more of the kind of like the waspy bee type of coloration with a little bit of black in it. And then I got kind of a mixed bag with black and red and a couple of the more bigger crappie oriented hair jigs. Smallmouth will hit these as well. Definitely something that I would still do on a slip bobber, and he does quality stuff. He really does. This I have in the fly pack just because I want to keep it away from my other stuff. So I took one of my girlfriend's spare hair ties, and here we are. So yeah, for a very modest amount of money, I have a whole cadre of, little bugs and smaller presentations that I can use in ice, flowing water, warm water, in the rocks, float and fly, single piece of float and fly shot, 8 to 16 inches from the hook, and on a slip bobber. So very cool, really. Put that back. And the in my micro drop shot and my micro jig family of technique, I'm now using a size 2. This is a size 2, actually, ESB everlasting slip bobber, HL Outdoors online. I get 6 to 8 at a time. There's no shipping after a certain point. It's a $15 minimum. But I'm telling you, if you're wanting to get something that won't wear out, the bead is machined right into the top and glued in, and the cap is a long wear coated one. It's not hard to get line through these. They do have a ridge to them, but if you're careful with the line, they come right through. They're very buoyant for their size. This will float, I think, up to 1/8 of an ounce, which is right in the vein of what I'm doing. Even when I'm doing bait on an Aberdeen, like say a cricket, piece of hot dog, mealworm, whatever I'm using at the time, I can have, in fact right now I have one on my super light, which it has 2 size 1 float and fly shot, 2 foot up the line, and then 8 inches from the Aberdeen hook I have 1. So what it does is it eliminates me having to have the swivel and a bead to stop the bobber when it gets back out of the water. And then I have a rubber stopper. I don't use these fabric ones anymore. I hate the fabric ones. I have them as backup, but I don't use them. So what it allows me to do is to have just enough weight to get the bait down, but not so much weight that it weighs the bobber down. Okay, when it goes vertical, it sits right about here-ish. Still has plenty of body outside the water. I will sometimes do a fairly big bead and a really bright color above, just as an indicator if I cast it further, because my eyes ain't that good. But it works exceptionally well. I use I got a little floaty floating around. I use a size 8 gold Aberdeen from Eagle Claw. They're like $1.50 for a 25 pack at Walmart all day long. You can order them in the hundreds online on eBay. I find that when I snell knot one myself, because I hate pre-snell knot hooks, I just don't like that heavy line. I know a lot of people tie them directly to the line. A lot of people on local ponds that just fish for whatever, they already have like 8 to 10 pound line on the reel. It's usually cheap line. I'm not with that. I get high end line and I snell my own. It has given me many more hookup ratio improvements than the status quo that most people do. So it's not a knock on anybody, to each his own. I just have gotten to a point where I want certain things a certain way. So this panfish only rod that I have is actually a two-piece, two-weight fly rod blank that has been built as a spinning rod, and it's just slip rings. It's not thread lock, so I can position the reel wherever I want within that. I think it's 12 or 14 inch handle, pure cork. I don't do anything but cork on my custom rods. Micro guides, first one's an Airwave and then all micros. It's a full parabolic bend. It does not have a huge amount of backbone, but I have pulled up to a 6 pound channel cat and it's survived. It's been an adventure because I run a Pflueger President Special Edition 20 size with 200 meters of 2 pound line. Most of the line that I have for it is the Bionic Panfish 2 pound. It's mostly for ice fishing, but it works really well. I wanted to get more of a quicker descent on my tackle, so I switched to fluoro for the time being because of the work that I'm going to be doing on Alamo, Bartlett, Apache, Saguaro from spring into summer, because I'm going to be throwing a lot into the rocks, brush piles, man-made structures, you name it, to pull these large-scale panfish out. And if you work at it and you do it right, I mean, like I said, and I'm going to show this again, I know you've seen it already, but these type of things, when the fish are really active, especially when they're spawning, post-spawn, pre-spawn, like all through that whole, like from now through March, these will get hit on a float and flight setup. I can use that slip bobber and just one split shot above it and put any one of these on and get them into hit. These small, ultra small Chanel tide jigs, I can do direct in a non-float flight, just a direct presentation, use a swivel, and just the weight of this will pull it and pull that slip bobber at that size, and it'll go to where I want it. It's deadly stuff, man. It really is. Can't express to you enough. There are times when the microscoping, the downsizing of things is so effective because it's a non-threatening presence. A lot of the times I throw things that make so much commotion and movement of water that the fish cannot refuse to look at it. But I'm going for trophy bass at that point. I'm not going for panfish. I'm going for the largest scale fish I can catch on an artificial. Like DeMott lures, one of the glides that I have. It's a very basic bait. It slides up and down on these posts, but it's something that he carves out and paints, and he cares about the outcome. He has straight rubber tails. These things get hammered, but they get hammered by absolutely massive fish. And when I'm going with that type of method, that's what I do. But when I go for micro, it's 100% finesse. Like these type of things, the little mini rattle traps, the little mini crazy head chatterbait, little tiny small scale chatterbait. These things for trout and rivers, holy crap. Black River, White River, the Gila, good lord, do they get hammered. So it's really a thing of true passion and finesse for me. I have taken a 1/4 inch piece of Kool-Aid infused hot dog, one piece, by the way, on my Aberdeen, and gone to a park where people don't even fish and they just take their animals, or they go and they play ball that will have a pond on it, and I catch huge fish at them and they don't even know there's fish in there. So, the ones that aren't listed on the community waters of the Game and Fish, I'm not talking HOA. I'm talking the parks that are just not listed, and they're out there. You just got to find them. There's bodies of water that you're like, really? I didn't know this was here. Oh, they're out there. I've got like 5 or 6 that I know about, and I go to them fairly routinely. Uh, the issue that I have with the ones that are on the program is that people know about them and more people fish them. So there's a lot more pressure than the ones you really don't know about, and you really don't talk about a whole lot. I've told people about Carriage Lane, but Game and Fish at one time, they had been stocking it. They stopped doing that. A lot of people fished out a lot of the bass. Game and Fish killed a lot of the bass in there. But, there's still fish to be had, and it's a nice, relaxing place to just throw a bobber and a piece of worm or a piece of hot dog. And I get clobbered on basic baits. A small 1/8-inch thick bread ball on the end of the Aberdeen will catch carp all day long. I don't have to use all that esoteric bullshit, all those rod holders and the 14-foot fucking rods. Why? It doesn't need to be that way. So this is why I do micro. Now, when I get a carp on my micro rod, I know I'm in for a fight. So I have my regular ultralight rigged up for when I'm really going for the bigger ones. My super light is more for just panfish, but I know that if I get into a bigger fish, I can still handle it. So, yeah. Micro is kind of where it's at for me right now. Do I do the swim baits? Yes. Do I go for large scale bass? Yes. Most of the time, it's underspins for bass, drop shot for bass, because they get numbers, and you can use them in pretty much any water you can float a boat on. And you can do that with swim baits, but my shoulders are really bad, and after a while it just takes its toll. So I do mostly light work, and I have good results, and you should try the same. Casey Conklin with Bubba's Flies and Jigs. Bubba Maroney, I believe I'm saying it right. I've only spoken to him for a few times. With Slab Reaper, very talented man. He's got molds that he's had made that nobody else has. Very amicable and very expanding. He's really making some headway. He's making waves. And Michael Harriman with Juggernaut Custom Jig Heads. I'm telling you, these guys, these 4, they're really pretty kick-ass. I also go online for the John Deere Green Twisted Tails. I have a tendency to put those on my chartreuse and my whiteheads from Juggernaut, and the clip-on spinners in the size 2 for the medium to large panfish. It works pretty damn good. You can go to any of the local ponds, go along the shoreline, something will hit them. They will. If you find anything on eBay for John Deere Green, get them. Seriously. That color, for some reason, no matter if the water's stained or not, just pulls fish.